Alright everyone, welcome back to B Mother Reviews, and today we got a good one. This is Mai Shiranui from HMO. This is the second in their girls lineup, and it's the follow-up to 2018 Statue of the Year, Morrigan. So we've got two questions to answer in this review. Can this statue improve on that masterpiece? And number two, is this the greatest outfit in fighting game history? We'll find out in the review next. Alright, so Mai made her debut back in Fatal Fury number 2, which came out back in 1992. Now, a couple years after that, she was then added to the roster in the King of Fighters games, and since that time has really become one of the more popular fighting game characters of all time. Now, she's also quite popular in the cosplay community, and you take a quick look at her, it's pretty easy to see why. Now, unfortunately for me, neither one of those game series was real popular around here growing up. In the arcades, we had the Simpsons game, we had the X-Men game, which is actually still really awesome. For fighters, it was Street Fighter 2 or Mortal Kombat. Now, apparently you could play these games on the Neo Geo, but if we're being real here, did anyone ever actually own a Neo Geo? I'm not so sure it even existed, to be honest. So, admittedly, I had to do a little bit of research on this character. I have done a review on a different Mai statue in the past, so that definitely helped here. Now, in terms of gameplay, she is an actual ninja. Her fighting style is a form of ninjutsu, so a lot of her attacks are quite acrobatic. She's also pyrokinetic, meaning she can create and control flames, so a lot of her special abilities will use fire to do their damage. But, let's be honest here, I don't think her gameplay is what makes her so popular to this day. She is known as the Alluring Ninja Girl, and apparently in Japanese folklore, the female ninjas would use their looks and their bodies to distract their victims before assassinating them. So you can see that the game designers grabbed that concept and just took off with it. I mean, look at her here. She is well known for her well-developed physical attributes, and those are modeled after actually two real-life Japanese idols. And if you do the research on those idols, they don't leave a lot to the imagination, and neither does Mai's outfit here, which just might be one of the more popular ones in gaming history. Although I would say that Cammy maybe gives her a run for her money, at least for me anyways. So when you add all that up, she did make a compelling follow-up to Morrigan in the girls line for HMO. So how did this one turn out? Well, let's get into the review. We'll start off with Sculpt Design next. Alright, so Sculpt and Design. This statue was sculpted, as most HMO statues are, by the co-founder Mufazal, and I think he did a really nice job here. So let's get into it. We'll start with the base. It is a fairly generic looking rock formation base, but I mentioned her flame-based abilities, and you can see this geyser of fire sort of exploding from within this rock, so that is kind of a neat look there. In terms of Mai herself and her pose, they really wanted to make her look elegant and graceful, and I think they did a nice job with that there, with the knee up and the arms out wide. You got her ponytail sort of flapping through the air, the rope around her shoulder as well, kind of flowing out the back, just gives this sense of motion and makes the statue a little bit more dynamic looking, so really nice job with that. In terms of costume and details, I think they really nailed the game accuracy. There's not much there for the costume, but what is there, they did a really nice job with it. Nice texturing on the suit, nice wrinkles and folds sculpted in there, and you can see the accuracy there in the back as well. So again, really nice job with the accuracy. She's got the little bows on the front of her boots there. The socks are kind of pulled down over her ankles. She's got her signature fan weapons in her hands, so really nice job there. One thing that's interesting about this sculpt is when I was chatting with Mufazal about it, he mentioned that he would flip back and forth between different focal lengths in the 3D software when he was sculpting her face, because he really wanted her face to look good through all different kinds of camera lenses. And I don't know if that is done by other sculptors. It's the first time I've ever heard of that being done, and he's quite pleased with the results. I mean, how often have we seen someone grab their cell phone, hold it up close, snap a picture, and it just kind of warps the face and really doesn't give an accurate image to what the statue really looks like. So with this one, I can say it does look good in different camera focal lengths, and it also looks good to the naked eye. So I think it was a successful technique. One thing that really stands out to me on this statue is the cherry blossoms. When I first saw the digital render for the piece, that stood out to me, and I really wondered how they were going to be able to pull that off. I think they look amazing on this statue, and she is a Japanese character, so having the cherry blossoms there, which is an iconic image of Japan, really adds a little bit of her backstory to this design. So great job there. I think overall HMO did an amazing job with this piece. Alright, so let's move on, talk about paint here. Now, HMO employs a man who I believe to be one of the best paint designers in the business, and that is Mr. James TCE, and he has come up with another great paint scheme for this statue here. I mean, the base, it is a fairly generic base, I mentioned, so it does have a fairly generic gray paint job to it, but the fire looks pretty nice. This is sort of a semi-translucent material, and they've given it some nice dark and light oranges there, a little bit of yellow. Fire is always really difficult to pull off on a statue, but I think this effect does look pretty nice in person. On Mai herself, she has her signature red and white costume with just the right amount of shading, I think, to help bring out some of those sculpted details. On Mai herself, I really like her hair. You got the two tones of brown in there to help bring out some of the detail again. On her face, just the right amount of makeup to help enhance the details, the eyeshadow around the eyes, the glossiness on her lipstick, a little bit of rosiness in the cheeks. So a really nice job there. The skin, they added some pinkish flesh tones in the shaded areas to help give her a little bit of life. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the skin next segment. So let's move on to my favorite part about the paint job, and that is, again, the cherry blossoms. I do not envy the person who had to sit there and paint hundreds of these things, because each flower has the little yellow dots in there, and it's a really nice blend of the pink and the white. I think they just did an amazing job there. And the finer details on this paint job as well. You look at the fingertips, she has the French tip nails there, just like Morrigan did, and just a really nice subtle detail on this paint job that just helps bring Mai to life. So excellent job by the HMO team here. Alright, moving on to production and build quality. We'll quickly run through some of the extras that you get with this statue. We'll start off with the assembly guide here. It's got the packing photo there if you ever need to pack her back up. It's always nice and handy to have that. Not too difficult to assemble this statue actually, but it is nice to always have the process laid out for you right in front of your eyes there if you need it. You also get an art print with the piece here. So a little bit of a different size for this print, but I like it. I think it looks great here. You can display that beside your statue if you like. There are no switch outs for this statue, but you do get this bag of little loose cherry blossoms, and you can do whatever you like with these. You can sprinkle them around the base if you like. I have not done that, obviously. They're still in the bag because I figure they'd end up on the floor and lost forever, so I've kept them in the bag for now. All right, a couple of the things that made Morrigan so special was her skin and her eyes. And first of all, the skin is a special blend by HMO, and they call it Real Skins. And it has just a right amount of translucency about it and just the right color to give it a nice realistic look, not only to the naked eye, but also in photographs. And I think Morrigan's skin looked excellent, but it was maybe a little bit on the orangey side. My skin complexion, I think, just looks a little bit creamier, a little bit more realistic, and I think they really improved on that process. That's one thing HMO is always doing, is trying to improve their technique statue to statue, and I think the real skins on Mai definitely look better to me than they did on Morrigan. Now, the eyes, the real eyes, they are little mini acrylic or glass eyes that are set into the head of each statue. And again, Morrigan's eyes looked amazing. It's part of what helped her win Statue of the Year. But Mai's eyes look even better, I think. They just have a greater depth to them, more realistic color about them. They just seem to really grab that light and reflect it and just have a really realistic appearance about them. It's an excellent job. I really think that they're subtly improving things, but it's really to great effect. So great job on those two features on this statue. Now, one thing that I have to mention about this piece, of course, Mai is known for having an enormous set of fans, but these two fans here cannot counteract what I feel something you've got to watch out for, and that is that this statue is quite front heavy. Now, I don't know how well it's going to come across in the video, but pay attention to this back part of the statue and you can see it takes almost no effort for me to make that statue want to tip over. So just whatever you do, wherever you display the statue, the table or shelf that you use, make sure it is extra sturdy. It's not going to flex, and make sure it's not somewhere that someone could accidentally bump into it, because it would just be an absolute shame to have this statue go tumbling down to the floor. So make sure that you're aware that the statue is front heavy. Otherwise, I think it's a great production from HMO. The real eyes and real skins both look amazing on Mai. Alright, it is time to wrap things up here with Mai Shiranui from HMO, and I think overall this is another amazing release from the company. Great sculpt here from Mufazal. I mean, he is always continually striving to improve, and I think he's done an excellent job here. Really solid paint job on this statue. I love the cherry blossoms. I mentioned that it is a little bit front heavy, a little bit tippy, so you definitely have to watch out for that, but otherwise it's a really nice quality feeling production. I'm asked the question off the top, does Mai improve on the fan favorite Morrigan statue from HMO? And I think technically it does. The real skins and the real eyes features, at least to my eye, are improved here. Just a little bit more depth to her eyes, and the skin complexion, I think, is a little bit more pleasing for me. So I think some definite improvements there. It's great to see the company pushing things forward. But I think if you twisted my arm, I'd probably still put Morrigan a notch ahead of Mai, just because I find her to be a little bit more of an interesting looking character, and that parallax skull base with the bat effect on it just, again, gives her a little bit of an edge. But nonetheless, Mai Shiranui turned out great. Fans of this character are going to be all over this piece. You're going to love it. So there you have it. Mai Shiranui from HMO. The next in the girls line will be Felicia, which we revealed on a recent episode of Shelf Space, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to stay tuned to this channel, subscribe, because we always got more coming, and we'll talk to you guys soon.